Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Court-Martail Podcast. Introducing your host for this evening first. He is the host with the most from the West Coast, the Bay Area Brawler, Skyler Greenberg. And his partner, he has colonized, energized, and revolutionized the podcasting wrestling world today. Your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty.
And welcome everybody to one of the biggest, one of the baddest, and one of the angriest podcasts the Court-Martail podcast has ever done. That's right, it's WrestleMania Night 2, and on a night where there's black ooze, on a night where nipples existed, on a night where people were wearing white, there's going to be a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight. But I am the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, the Bay Area Brawler, Skyler Greenberg. And I'm excited to be here for this show, but I cannot do it alone. So I'm here with a man who makes the best flowers in all of the world, the man who throws a right-handed punch better than Kenny Omega, the man who will be found at a 7-Eleven in Connecticut at 2 a.m. in the morning because he forgot to cash his check and he forgot to pay his bills and they threw him into the dumpster. It is the Colonial champion, Sean McCarty.
Well, I'll tell you something. If the student loan companies throw me in a dumpster and that's the worst they do to me, that will be better off because of it. But in any case, thank you, Sky, for that wonderful intro here for WrestleMania review. A WrestleMania that had its highs, had its lows, and had two nights. And we are in the midst of breaking ground, ladies and gentlemen, for two reasons. The first being that we have not had a Skyler intro since we had his application, so it's great to have Skyler leading the show. We also have the first night of WrestleMania's review on the Totally Awesome podcast, which has already been uploaded, but if you want to hear what we think, and all three of us were in attendance for that one, we have a link in the description. Just feel free to click on that. Please do. And then we also are breaking new ground because Skyler, for the second night in a row, is also watching the show as we review it.
Yes, and as we are talking right now, I'm seeing Daniel Bryan land on Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, oh my God. Oh my God.
So the action is hard hitting and fast here at the Court-Martail podcast, and we have a lot to talk about. And while Skyler is finishing off this show, if you don't mind, Sky, I'm going to go into a little bit of my thoughts on the show while things are continuing on for you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, continue.
All right, so night one was terrific. I had a great time watching night one. There was only a couple things I didn't like. It was, for WWE standards, a pro wrestling show I could be proud to say I was a wrestling fan of. This night, on the other hand, was goddamn awful. There was so little I would even consider halfway passable on this show. Most of it didn't make sense. Most of it was completely botched and sloppy and just was... It was just awful. The gimmicks were bad. The matches were bad. The outcomes were bad. There were, not to say that people didn't try, right? I understand people tried, and I will tell you there are things I did like on this show. I don't want to make it think like it's a total wash, because there are things of this show that were really, really good. But I personally thought this was a one-match show, and that one match is the one that Skyler's currently watching.
Exactly. Now, again, that's not to say that there wasn't other stuff in the show that was enjoyable, because there was. But I'm just going to tell you right now, as the show kept going, it got harder and harder and harder to watch because it just got more and more stupid.
Yeah, it was as if the leading match wasn't enough. But before we get to the leading match, we have a third man in our booth that we have yet to talk about. And this man is arguably the most controversial guest star ever to appear on the Court-Martail podcast. The only man who has ever been censored by the powers that be that run things back, the tiny, tiny Keebler elves we have stored in the trees here at the Colonial Castle. We have all those Keebler elves working hard and fast, and they decided that he had to be censored. And because he was so controversial, he arrives here again today to discuss a very controversial WrestleMania. Night 2. And that man is PC Proper Grammar Notes Joshua, who Skylar will be reading his brilliant soliloquies describing how he feels about this show.
Yes, and I will mention before we begin that I already have gotten basically a little bit of a preview reading everything, and I'm just going to say right now, this may be the most controversial notes he has yet.
Oh boy. So we may be seeing a repeat performance of the Southern Drawl Texan who had to come out and explain to the folks why they couldn't get their quality programming. Will we see him make his return? We will find out later on tonight. But let's begin.
Right, shall I read this intro?
Oh yes, please. He must have an intro bringing his illustrious brilliance, if you can call it that, here to the CMP.
So, he begins this with, what time is it? It's time for the Joshua Notes of the Week.
If he's expecting me to put the intro for that, you know what? I'm going to make an intro. Roll it. It's time for Joshua Gadden's Notes of the Week. It's time for the Notes of the Week of the Week.
Any hoodles, besides stealing my gimmick, goddammit, Joshua. Any hoodles, greetings to all the unfortunate souls who have been inundated with the anti-AEW propaganda associated with this show, and witnessed the return of proper PC Comic Sans Notes Joshua. Tremble with fear. These are my thoughts and impressions of Night Sunday of WrestleMania 37. Right? Night Sunday?
They called it WrestleMania Saturday and WrestleMania Sunday instead of saying Night 1 and Night 2.
God damn it, Vince McMahon.
We're going to be saying that a lot tonight.
And anyways, Night Sunday of WrestleMania 37, and hopefully these notes won't need a healthy dose of censorship from your host, the Colonial Champion, Senpa McCarty.
Yeah, that's right. The Colonial Censor. That's right. I'll lay the hammer down.
Written down. Also, he writes down, good luck with your feud against the Sinful Neglect.
Oh, yes, of course. If you want to know the context of that, if you don't already, then by all means, please do watch part of the totally awesome W Wrestling Gaming channel where I am doing, I'm cutting promos for a feud I've got, courtesy of our good friend, Mr. Josh Again. Link in the description.
Also, he tells me to give you a kiss.
Well, that ain't happening.
No, not at all.
So instead, we're going to move on. Actually, you know what? Considering this first match, maybe I will take that kiss. It's Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt again in a Jack in the Box from Hell match.
The only part I liked about this match was Randy Orton's white tights. That was it.
I like the fact that Randy Orton trolled Mandy Rose a little bit when he was walking down the ring.
That was also good, but there was nothing else.
Before we get to this matchup, we had the fans, and then Titus, we got to talk about the intro, because these hosts, when I first heard that these two guys were going to be the hosts, I initially hated the thought of what the dynamic was going to be, but after I watched this, I want a sitcom of Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan just hanging around the house. I love these. The chemistry these two do not have is so entertaining. It's so bad that it's just hysterically funny.
I mean, basically it's Legends House, but with Titus O'Neil.
Just Titus O'Neil and Hogan. I don't need anybody else. Just the two of them just living together just for like a week, and just put a camera in there and I would watch it. they do this, and Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan comes out in a pirate costume, and maybe that was the only thing I ever wanted from professional wrestling.
What?
Hogan looking like a pirate.
I mean, first off, that's not a surprise for Hulk Hogan. I'm pretty sure he's worn something like that around his house. Secondly,
I wouldn't.
The fact that you want
Wouldn't be
to wear
surprised.
one of those pirate costumes does not surprise me.
Well, and also because this was held in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl 55 champions. Then they had the pirate ship back there.
You're not saying it right, Sean. Raymond James Stadium, home of the defending Super Bowl 55 champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
See, because I'm a fan, I'm trying to take the more subtle approach because I don't want people thinking I'm trying to flex on them.
No. You take the championship. You take the championship, okay, man?
Hey, listen, I've got the belt. See, the belt's already in my possession. I don't need to brag when the belt's already in my possession. I'm gonna wait until we are the defending champions and we have new competitors and new challengers who can see if they can dethrone the almighty greatest of all time, Timothy Brady, and the Roberto Gronkowski, and all of the new people that are on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Bruce Arians. By the way, former 24/7 champion Rob Gronkowski. So, and that's how his 2020 started, and he won the Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
Roberto
So I think I might have broken Sky.
Brilliant.
I might have broken Sky. So let's go.
Good. I'm good. That was good.
So let's move on to Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt before this deteriorates any further. And I am, first of all, what do you think about this match going first?
Are they trying to ruin the show?
See, that's what I thought at first as well, but it was the opposite side of that coin is obviously, well, at least we're getting it out of the way so we don't have to see it later and have it really ruin the main event. At least we can wipe it from our memories with the 2.5 hours in between that and the triple threat.
Now, here's the thing. You say that, but actually I want this in the middle of the show so I can use it as my bathroom break.
Yeah, that would, honestly, that would have been fair. You know what would have been really nice is if they had gotten maybe something like Sammy and Owens on there first, or even Biggie and Cruz. But something other than this match. But this match, there was no good place for this on the card. Let's be real. So
yeah, I guess get out of the way, so whatever.
So we start with 4 minutes of Orton's entrance. And then we do the great 2020 trope that has entered 2021 of let's do 4 minutes of Orton's entrance and then do a hype video. Couldn't you have done that?
Because they needed time to move the box into your place.
Yeah, it's not a box though. I'm sorry, it's a box-like structure. It is. If you listen to the sage words of Michael Cole.
Damn it, Byron Saxon.
And so, by the way, speaking of commentators, where the hell was Tom Phillips?
Apparently, he was out because of exposure to someone with COVID-19.
Oh, hate to see it. Because it was a lot of Cole.
That means that Michael Cole had to do commentary for 14 matches. So that's the one time I do not envy Michael Cole because that's a lot of matches you have to call.
Yeah, I mean, not that Michael Cole wouldn't be up to the task. But, in any case,
But we will get to Michael Cole.
Yeah.
Specifically, Joshua will get to Michael Cole.
Yeah, we'll get to Michael Cole. So, then they do this CGI costume repair bit when Alexa Bliss comes out. And right as the second I saw the CGI transformation back into regular Bray, I immediately knew this was only going to get worse.
I mean, we got the return of the red light.
Oh, yes, of course. We all missed the whole match in the red light. And what better than a Jack in the Box to emulate what the Fiend is supposed to be, even though he's not a clown, even though they're making him into a clown.
But he feels like a clown now.
And he really is a clown. Well, I'm not talking about a shoot. He's a clown as a shoot, I think. But this is... So Wyatt still kept, though, He kept the Shredder vest that he was wearing when he returned with all the glitter, and Alexa sat on Randy Orton's little Randall Keith, that is, back at Fastlane.
I mean, here's the thing, guys. We're making a lot of jokes about this match, but there's nothing to it, okay? Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt have no chemistry. Sure, some of the moves that they do are technically okay, but the fact of the matter is that their styles just do not work with each other.
These two are allergic to having a good match with each other. Their best match was the one where Bray Wyatt was set on fire.
No, it was not.
Yeah, sadly, that was of all the matches they have ever had, that has been the only one I found halfway, like, okay, until the fire got, until the end.
The only reason why you like that was because you can make fun of it because of how stupid it was.
Well, here's the thing. So, just to briefly go through this match was so bad, and then Alexa Bliss shows up as, I guess, Sister Abigail, and she bleeds from her crown that she's wearing as she's just sitting on top of the box-like structure. Bray Wyatt looks over like, huh? Look at that. Stares for an ungodly long amount of time, then turns around, gets RKO'd, one RKO, 1, 2, 3, and Randy Orton looked so done with this feud.
So done. The next night on Raw, he said, I'm done fighting supernatural characters. I want the WWE Championship again.
Yeah, because this was bad. This was just, but this was so bad that not even they knew how to end it. Because you know what they did, Sky?
I saw what they did.
I don't even want to say it. So Alexa Bliss kept bleeding out the crown, and Bray Wyatt got back up and looked at Alexa Bliss. They stared for another ungodly amount of time, and then, because they had no out to whatever this was, the lights went out, Bray Wyatt disappeared, Alexa Bliss kept pouring goo out of her crown, and then it faded to black, and the crowd booed the hell out of it.
Because this was really, really bad. Now, here's the thing. This match was produced by Jamie Noble, but what happened was that Vince McMahon and who's that other guy? Who's that stooge that works for him?
Bruce Pritchard?
The one that used to... Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard were heavily involved in this match and changed the result either night one or night two. They may even changed it the day of. Bray Wyatt was supposed to win, but they changed it so that Randy Orton won.
Maybe because Vince had one brief act of consciousnness and was like, what am I doing? And maybe that will finally put the way... Now, here's what the final takeaway from this is for me. Bray Wyatt has go-away heat with me right now. I don't want to see him on this show. I don't want to watch anything that Bray Wyatt does ever again. Because this year alone, starting with the Firefly Funhouse and making a mockery of what professional wrestling is and was and ever was, and a mockery of everyone who had ever stepped foot in the wrestling ring. From that point on, it has been just gone from bad to worse to absolute garbage to garbage set on fire to whatever the hell this was. That's it.
Exactly. You had the Firefly Funhouse match. That really shitty feud with Braun Strowman with matches like the Swamp Fight and the SummerSlam, which you and me universally hated. Then he ruins besides the Bray Wyatt feud, Randy Orton arguably had one of the best years of his career last year.
Yep.
And he ruined Randy Orton's year, and now we're at the point where WrestleMania and this really shitty match. And let's be clear, I'm not a fan of Alexa Bliss either. I am tired of Alexa Bliss doing this shit. I want her back to being normal. And
when she was palatable.
Apparently, Alexa Bliss has split off from Bray Wyatt, and she's going to be doing her own thing in the women's division, which means we're going to get 2 supernatural characters in 2 parts of the show.
This...
And you want to know how we can make this even better?
How?
I can read Joshua's notes.
You know, there's nothing that he could say at this point that could possibly make me feel any worse about this matchup. I'm feeling the ulcer coming, and this is how I knew that night 2 was never going to be close to what night 1 was. What does he have to say?
Well, here's the thing. Get ready, because this is going to start off hot.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
So, Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Fuck this goddamn cock-sucking, cunt-licking, anus-sniffing feud.
Agreed.
Remember when The Fiend was my favorite part of the show 2 years ago? My, how times changed. The Fiend fucking sucks now.
Yep.
Randy Orton's mocking Mandy Rose and wearing a diaper is easily the best part of this segment. Also, speaking of people from that awful tag team turmoil match, I buried on TAP. Billy Kay has been released from WWE. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Praise it.
There's something else, too. A lot of wrestlers got released from their contracts, including Samoa Joe, who did commentary for this night.
And who I thought was the only halfway palatable commentator they have. And now, well, have fun on AEW, Joe. Job it out on Dark.
Apparently the reason why he got released is because he wants to wrestle and WWE will not clear him. So on the one hand, I'm happy he's released and he can change his dream. But on the other hand, I don't want him to die.
Yeah, and I really don't want him to die facing somebody dumb on AEW, which is what it's going to be in a throwaway match that nobody's going to care about.
Samoa Joe versus Joey Janela.
Or Sonny Kiss. I think it's going to be one of the two of them.
Samoa Joe versus Miro.
That I would watch. As dumb as Miro has become, I would still watch it.
Samoa Joe versus Orange Cassidy.
I can't imagine Samoa Joe would take the play kicks. I would pray to God he would take the play kicks.
If he gets paid enough money, he will.
Well,
the Fiend regenerating himself with awful CGI effects that I could easily do myself with a green screen is the first point at which I gave up hope. Humanity is a lost cause. Brian Saxton calling a fucking box a box-like structure is such a WWE-ism. Why do they have to over-verbalize everything? If they focus more on, I don't know, booking instead of proper verbiage that Vince approves of, this would not suck as much. Now, excuse me, I finished typing these notes with my finger like appendages.
That's right.
The goddamn Red Light is back. I want to rip off Vince McMahon's briefly fucking dick off and feed it to him.
Whose? Who feed it to who?
He wants to feed Vince McMahon his own wrinkly dick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Continue.
So we went from an Inferno match to a regular match. Stop, my head hurts. Ow, the pain. The Fiend is distracted by Alexa Bliss getting a facial from Satan. What the actual fuck is this show, and why do people watch this?
It's a good question.
8 trillion curb stomps can't pin the Fiend, but one RKO can. Even better, one shitty-looking jackhammer can. Jesus Christ, this gimmick is fucking worse. Fuck this match. Fuck the Fiend. Fuck Alexa Bliss. Fuck Satan ejaculating on Alexa's face. I mean, who wouldn't want to? Fuck me and fuck you next match.
Yeah. And then Bischoff showed up for no reason.
Eric Bischoff, please. You're my National Wrestling League manager. I don't need you to be on this show.
It was just him and Hogan, and Eric's just like, hey, he's Hulk Hogan, and I'm Eric Bischoff. Hey, Bayley. And by the way, let's talk about Bayley. You know that they're setting up for Belair versus Bayley, and that I am all for.
I just wish that they had found a match for Bayley to be on this WrestleMania, goddammit.
Well, how could you not? I mean, the women's division is so stacked as it is, Sky, because we got a terrific women's tag team match after this match.
No, we don't.
It is Natalya and Tamina versus the Real Hurt Business, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Why don't you start?
Okay. I mean this sincerely. Natalya, Tamina, please, both of you, retire.
Ow.
I just cannot deal with them anymore. Natalya has been a joke for a long time, and she has never been a good wrestler. It's unfortunate, but Natalya has never been a good wrestler. Tamina has been even worse than that. Nia Jax is Nia Jax at this point. You know what you're going to get.
She's a
Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler is just sad.
Deserves
she could have been
better.
something different. She could have been something special, and she's involved in this bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. This is why Natalya and Tamina were actually cheered in this match. I'll never know.
Because people hate Nia Jax.
But this was, first of all, this was basically, if you look at these two teams, it's basically Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are the anime, and Natalya and Tamina are the Netflix adaptation. These two are, they look basically the same, which I sure was half of the point of having the match. And so Nia goes and stares down Natalya with her chicken pox jewels, which looked ridiculous, by the way. Once again, reaffirming that whoever was doing hair and makeup on this show should be shot. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel I did at TAP, but...
Who does hair and makeup for every single pay-per-view, especially the women?
Yeah, worst of all the women. It was, I mean, lest we forget Ronda Rousey's wingtips. This match was just sloppy, and they were just setting up moves and executing moves. There was no flow to this match at all. They did a slingshot super kick that looked like it nearly took a jaw off. And
None
then
of these women look anything like. They look so bad.
Yeah, it was.
Can't even talk about it.
I know. I honestly, I understand. And then Michael Cole with another. I'm sure that this was a Vince McMahon one. I'm sure Vince came up with this. Michael Cole called Shayna Baszler the submission magician.
Oh,
Yeah.
That sounds like a Joshua-ism.
Yeah, I was like, really? Stop. But there were some stiff points in this matchup. There was a good discus clothesline that I think Natalya gave, but it should have had more time to register. They went right into the next thing, and that was what was breaking it up for me. And then they botch as Natalya is going to Tamina for the hot tag. Natalya misses Tamina's hand, and how do you botch a tag on the hot tag?
Natalya did it.
How do you
She
do
just
that?
showed you how to do it.
How do you do that? And then this match just kept going, and it just overstayed its welcome. Just the length of it, the botches just killed it. There was potential in this match. There were some moments that I was like, okay, but the bad was just so glaring that it just took away from this match entirely.
Well, we can also. Well, I think I don't have much to say on this match. In fact, let's just skip to Joshua's comments because they will say more than I could ever say about this match.
Yeah, this was bad.
From the abortion of a tag team turmoil match to this, geez, this women's roster. I'd argue that even ACPW has a stronger women's roster.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, all three women you have.
Well, stay tuned. And also stay tuned next week because it happens to be our April ACPW versus NWL show. So stick around for that. Episode 10, as it were, for both shows. So stick around. More is coming on that basis. Go ahead.
Cole calls a powerbomb a spinebuster again.
Why? Why is this man still here?
I don't know. Holy fucking shit. They zoom in on Nia, and you can hear someone telling someone to lay it in. Size of exasperation. Sean, you hate backslash tag.
I do.
But what about completely missing the tag? Tamina is so gassed that she can't even touch Natty's hand when she tries to tag her. I don't understand why Tamina gets so fucking exhausted so quickly, especially since she isn't wearing 8 tons of clothing that she usually wears. Tamina, try conditioning cardio for fuck's sake.
Nah.
Natalya's more Natalya swore at someone, presumably because she's the only person in this match besides Shayna that doesn't suck. Imagine directing traffic with no one in their car deserves to drive. That catapult super kick on Shayna was brutal, and that knee strike from Shayna on Natty was even more brutal. Give me Shayna Baszler versus Natalya one-on-one.
That would actually be probably decent. Except Natalya is not a good babyface.
No. And let's get something out of the way, okay? Natalya's not a good wrestler.
She's not bad, but her mannerisms just are not likable. And they're not even really booable either. They're just there.
She's boring. She has no personality.
She's just there, yeah. Charisma's not there.
It's like if you took the charisma of Bret Hart, but you halved it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you right now, Bret Hart was not the most scary man.
Yeah, until he started getting actually fired up in '97, but...
Yeah, and then the screw job happened.
Then, yeah. Then the rest is history.
Shayna submits Natty in a sloppy match, and night 2 is off to a terrific start.
Yeah, this show wasn't shit up to this point. This was like 28% good.
And then the other thing, too, I noticed with the show, there's so many ads. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, because everything had to be reset up. And then we got JBL. And finally, I found something fun in the commentary team to listen to. I love JBL. And I was starting to think, because I started watching some old JBL promos, I'd like to do a revisit match, Superstar Spotlight on JBL one day, because his career is really underrated as far as what his contributions were and what he was able to bring to the table and how good he really was on the microphone. But the combination of JBL and Graves was a little much.
You think?
Graves is bad enough on his own. Adding JBL into the mix was a lot. If it was Cole and JBL, I'd be cool with it. But Graves is... I'm also just done with Graves. I can't listen to this dude anymore.
You can't listen to anyone on WWE commentary. The only halfway passable guy just got released.
Yep. But speaking of halfway passable, and the exact antithesis of the word passable, we move on to Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens with guest affiliate Logan Paul. Why doesn't Joshua start this? Why don't we start with him and then let's talk about the match?
Okay. So here comes Japan's favorite son, Logan Paul. And, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show where we may or may not censor it because this joke is so... Well, these next two jokes are so bad.
Let's hear it loud and clear, and we will make that decision when the time comes. Keebler Elves at the ready.
Breaking news.
This is the head of the Keebler Elves. We had to edit it out, but that sure was funny. All right, we're back. Jesus. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh! Ow! Oh! Oh! I need to stop for a second, man. I need to stop for a second. I laughed too hard.
That was, I mean, that was funny. Well,
no.
What's the next part, Sky?
No. Can't help but wonder why everyone is so high-strung on Logan Paul. I mean, it's low-hanging fruit at this point. I wonder if Becky Lynch is a Logan Paul fan. We know Chris Benoit is.
Well, I would say that was a little bit of overkill.
Stupid crap.
That was a little bit of overkill. And not in like, you just put too many jokes together. You see, the thing about it is like you gotta time the jokes. And if you put too much jokes in too concentrated a space, they all kind of lose their sting.
Well, you might tell Joshua this, because he's the one who wrote this damn shit.
Well, we're gonna leave something of this group in there to teach a lesson to the kiddos. And if YouTube gives us something for this, then we will be back. But in any case, continue.
Any hoodle.
Any hoodles.
This match was Anyway, any hoodles, this match was the first good thing on the show. Hard hitting, decentish story, cool spots. That apron brainbuster was gnarly. Hey Jay, you stop fucking cutting for Logan Paul. Every 10 seconds, Kevin Dunn, you want to get shanked again.
You just might.
Cole calls a Michinoku driver a Blue Thunder bomb. I want to hear Cole like a hat. I want to wear Cole like a hat on my dick so I can beat him like he owes me money. Oh my god.
I don't know how to feel about that.
The Stunners KO gave Sammy and Paul are the only good-looking Stunners that KO has ever done. Thumbs up for this match. Well, let me tell you something right now, Joshua. You've gone too far.
Well,
you've gone way too far.
Well, here's the deal. You're right. I think that Josh again did go too far because he thought this match was really, really good. And he's gone too far this time. I thought
it was really good. I thought he thought it was passable. I mean, after those first two matches, you could only go up.
He's gone too far this time. I will not allow Josh again to say such blasphemy on this show. Like that this was a really good match or that this was a good match at all. Because it was okay at best. Here's the thing.
It feels like Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, the Cliff Notes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the spots were fun. But the storytelling I thought was not as good as I thought it could have been. I didn't really get into it as much as more. It just felt more like these two just trading moves. Which I know is not really them, and I know that they're much better storytellers than that, but I didn't really get it. It felt more like the focus was what Logan Paul's reaction to them doing was, rather than it was what they were doing.
Because this feels like, because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have had so many matches against each other that they cannot have a bad match, but when you see a bunch of them over the years, you know they've done better, and this was not their best work.
Yeah.
It does not help that we have a WWE's version of Kenny Omega sitting in the corner watching this shit. And we have to hand to him every 10 seconds for his goddamn reaction. Well, I swear, Logan Paul has the same punchable face that Kenny Omega does.
Well, and at least they acknowledged that. At least WWE acknowledged that Logan Paul was not going to be popular when he came. But I'm agreeing with you, Sky. This Owen Stunner really sucks. I'm sorry. It just doesn't look good. I don't hate him using it. I just don't think it looks that great. But this match should have been better. There were fun moments in it. I'm not saying there weren't fun moments in it, but I kind of left with that same sense of disappointment.
Again, these guys, if you give them a proper storyline and don't involve Logan Paul, knock it out of the ballpark.
Yes.
As is, this just feels like another chapter in the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn feud that actually kind of feels more like Cliff Notes or the end story. It's just, when you've seen these guys put each other through tables in Ring of Honor or ladders in WWE, this feels tame, especially because there's no juice.
I mean, I will say this too. Sammy is tremendous. Both of these guys are really good. You know, as much as I've knocked Owens' look over the years, they're both really good, and I really appreciate both of them. And it's not that this match was bad per se. I was just disappointed because I guess my expectations for this were higher than they should have been. But I will say they got it right by stunning Logan Paul, even though Logan Paul sold that maybe worse than Vince McMahon sold the first stunner. But
I don't even know what the purpose is of bringing Logan Paul in. If you're just going to have him overshadow Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn,
it's for views, I guess.
Does Logan Paul get viewers? Does anyone get viewers anymore?
Yeah, well, we've had this discussion before, and that's a good point. It was just, but it did make it feel at least a little more worth it that they didn't just give Logan Paul the, hey, I'm the celebrity, I'm here, and it's great to be here. They actually were like, Owens was like, nah, screw you, I'm going to stun you. And that did get a pop, and I did appreciate the act. If nothing else of this, I liked the post-match afters.
Yeah, but I wonder where Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens go from here, because this kind of felt like a filler feud for them. And you have to figure that they have to get involved in title contention at some point again, but I don't know if it's going to happen with Roman Reigns in charge.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening. And then we get one of the oddest segments I've ever seen. Riddle, the 4-year-old child on a scooter.
That's the United States champion to you.
The 4-year-old United States champion Riddle is in the same vicinity of RVD, and I cannot believe this. They actually advertised Rob Van Dam's rolling papers on WWE programming. What?
This segment only existed to get Matt Riddle and RVD on the same screen together.
I know. It was just, that was ridiculous. First of all, I didn't even know Van Dam had rolling papers. Second of all, they're really letting them talk about rolling papers on WWE programming? Thanks, NBC.
I mean, it's Rob Van Dam and Matt Riddle. But here's the thing. In between these two is Great Khali.
Because why not?
At least it was Great Khali and not Katie Forbes.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Just imagine if Matt Riddle rolled up on RVD and
Katie Forbes. No, there's lines not even WWE would cross. But ACPW, on the other hand, if you are interested in the fate of Katie Forbes, tune in next week and hear what happens. But enough.
So, no. Here's the thing. So, RVD rolling papers, natural, unbleached, raw, king size, $4.95 to $2.49.
Okay.
I'm not paying $250 for rolling papers of RVD.
Wait, they're $250?
If you want. I think it's like, what do you got? They're all signed too. What the hell?
Oh, damn.
So I can smoke RVD's signature?
Rob, that's not worth it. That is not worth it at all. No one's that big a Rob Van Dam mark, I don't think.
Also, the way it's looked is like there's book. So there's a book, there's 3 books, there's 5 books, there's a case which is 50 books, and then a signed case.
And the cops are coming after us now because for having this conversation. So we should move right along.
Hold on. Let's make it even better. The fact is that it's all a price cut. Normally it's $350 for the 50 books that are signed of RVD's rolling papers.
Oh God. No.
It's a collector's. I don't know.
Man, Rob, I appreciate you trying to get into that game, but no, you're doing too much. You're doing way too much. And speaking of doing too much.
By the way, no. Let's see even better. It says RVD 420, and it's the whole effing show Rob Van Dam with his picture on the rolling paper.
God, that's so overkill. That is so extra. But you know what? Cheers to whoever buys those, and tell me if it tastes like Rob. And now we move on to the United States Championship match. It is Riddle, the 4-year-old child on the scooter wearing flip-flops, versus real man from Ireland, paler than a great white shark, Sheamus. This match.
Is it wrong that I enjoyed Sheamus kicking Riddle's ass?
Yeah, it was. Here's the thing. For a squash, I felt like this should have been better. This was.
Was it a squash, though? It didn't.
It certainly felt like Riddle had done something to offend, maybe botching a line on national television. But this felt like punishment.
Sheamus over.
This was. But then we got the return of the drone shot. Hooray. And then we get Pirate Dove CGI. Shoot me.
Because then I have to do these shows on my own.
That's right. Well, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. We couldn't. This is too much for one person to talk about on their own. This is too traumatizing. Spoiler alert for fans.
there's going to be something that happens with WrestleMania Backlash, the next WWE pay-per-view. I'm not going to say what it is right now, but I will say that there is a little bit of a hint of truth about someone doing this show on their own.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we'll get to that. But this was just, these guys did not have chemistry. These guys, this match was really, I said it was decent. Now that I'm really thinking about this match was really bad.
They were very sloppy. Like, these two just don't have good timing. They don't have good working. Like, I don't know how much they work with each other, but you could tell that Sheamus was just frustrated the whole time.
Yeah. They did a top rope, not quite C4, and then they did a botch that it looked like Goldberg's jackhammer, and then they did the botch with the cross. They were just bad. It was just bad.
The top rope white noise that Sheamus slipped on the ropes and then had to put Riddle down, then did a white noise, but you could tell by the look on Sheamus' face that he was so pissed.
He was mad.
So he has to get on the top rope and do a knees just to make up for it.
And Saxton, the dingus, is like, no, what does Riddle have to do? And it's like, Sax, shut up. This is so bad. I'm all for Sheamus winning the title, but this match was just as X-Pac would say, this was a cement mixer.
That roll kick that Sheamus gave at the end, I wonder how much of it was actually a shoot because he was so pissed.
Enough that Riddle got juice. So, read into that what you will. What does Josh Gooden have to say?
He has a lot to say.
Oh, God.
Can someone explain to me why birds fly out of Riddle's dick when he throws his flip-flops? Sean, Skyler, anyone? I don't understand.
I got nothing.
I got nothing either. Also, until Riddle comes out wearing a green onesie covered in question marks, I'm calling him Matt Riddle. Jesus, this match is hard-hitting, and I'm enjoying it immensely. That fucking jackhammer, damn, that was hot. What show are you watching? What show are you watching, Joshua?
God. Did you not notice them continually botching, like, all of those high spots?
That Sheamus botch was just unfortunate. You can honestly see visible frustration on Sheamus' face after that. Unfortunate, I don't blame him, especially considering how slick the ropes must have been due to the rain and Satan's jizz from earlier.
Yeah, that's a good question. Did they actually clean the ring of all that goop?
They probably did. I didn't see any black stuff on there during the other matches.
That's probably why they had all those ads, so they could do their cleaning detail.
Cole calls a knee strike the bro kick. I guess Cole met with Matt and RVD before night one started. How can someone be so bad at their job after having said job for 20-plus years?
Well, because remember how much Vince is in Cole's ear.
Yeah. Then maybe Vince McMahon should stop being on commentary. That bro kick was nasty. Best bro kick I've ever seen. I really enjoyed this match despite the obvious botch earlier. I don't count the slight jackhammer botch from earlier because Matt quickly adjusted and got him up. I know Sean didn't like this match, but maybe Sheamus should have given Matt an ass slap tag to win Sean over.
Doesn't work with the guys. Sorry. I don't mean to disappoint those out there, but it would not have the same effect. Well,
exactly.
In any case, normally I'm all for hard-hitting matches, but this just did not have the chemistry to a hard-hitting match, or like a hard-hitting match should.
This was not Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, which was on a completely different level.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but Matt Riddle is not a good wrestler. Well, he's a wrestler. He's a decent wrestler, but he's not a major star. He's kind of peaked as a mid-carder jobber / comedy guy, and that's all he's going to be.
I think he was exposed when he came to the main roster for really not having much personality.
He has personality. The problem is that personality gets on your nerves.
Well, it's not even that the personality gets on your nerves, but like the stuff that they make him say, he sounds like a toddler. It's seriously, it's like this show is made for toddlers. With the way that Matt Riddle speaks.
He sounds like stoner friends that I know. I'm not saying that I like it when they do it like that, but it's just what he sounds like.
God. Well, we move on.
Big E versus Apollo Crews. There's no championship match.
Yeah,
Let's
there's
continue.
no good segue. There's no good segue from that into this, because this
the Nigerian drum fight.
We are at this point. I was like, we are at basically 0.5 for 4 on these matchups, and this was shot from the start because this gimmick is absolutely ridiculously stupid.
They had potential with Apollo Crews to make him a really good heel, and now he's the evil foreigner with a really, really dumb gimmick.
And a dumb spear that he put together using pieces from the hardware store in the garden center.
You know, now that you look closely at it, and I do see it, it's like, God damn it, he has a shovel.
Yeah, it's a garden trowel.
It's a shovel with a really painted up chrome top. That's it, all it is.
Yeah, seriously. He just spent one weekend in like a plaza that had like a Walmart, the little garden center like a Scott's, and actually he probably could just get all that at Walmart. He probably got all that at Walmart. And
if only Triple H had bought Vince McMahon a Nigerian spear that Apollo Crews could borrow for his entrances.
I know, but so they start this matchup by sword fighting with kendo sticks, and I was already lost interest and I just didn't care. I did not care, and I like Big E and I like Apollo when they wrestle serious matches, but I did not care at all. Are kendo sticks not even Nigerian?
They're not. But the other thing, too, is that these guys, they've had 5 matches with each other ever since Big E became Intercontinental Champion. You would think that they would have chemistry by this point, but they don't.
It's just, it was awkward. This was awkward. And again, this was just a whole bunch of just hitting people with stuff and not even making it look convincing at all. And then and my whole issue is that, like, what about this match was Nigerian? It's a Nigerian drum fight. But the whole thing was, it was basically just a TLC plus some drums set up around, which they didn't even use.
It wasn't really even a TLC. It was just a hardcore fight. It was just a hardcore match or a street fight. It just had a different name on it, but that's all it was.
And then they do the Death Valley Driver on the apron, which was the 4th major apron spot on the night, by the way.
They didn't abuse the dive over the rope. They abused the apron spot.
It was...
Because, as you know, Sean, it is the hardest part of the ring.
Yeah, which we heard every single time it happened. They did an awkward Uranagi, and then Omos showed up. Oh, I'm sorry, Babatunde, or whatever they called him. Yeah, whatever they called him, that they seem to make us all think that we don't remember that this dude's shown up multiple times before. And didn't Omos wrestle yesterday? Why are they doing this with another guy? This is just... These last 2 matches were the show's only hope. At this point, I was so done with this show. I was hoping to God that these last 2 matches were going to save it, because up to now, I was so drunk, rightfully so, because it was just so painful. It was just painful.
And shall we move on to Joshua's notes?
Oh, God, I'm sure he's got tons of good things to say about it.
Let me tell you something right now, Sean. This is going to be very quick, okay?
Let's hear it.
Funny how we go from night 1, which was full on respect women, and look at how we have black women representing. We are so progressive, to black man must be from Nigeria, the match on night 2.
It's so true, though. It's so true.
Holy shit, that Uranagi, or as Scott would say, Uragi, on the steel steps was vicious. Apollo fucking bounced.
He did.
This match only went 6 minutes, and you can tell, felt a little rushed, but I'm glad Apollo won. I don't have much to say about this match. It was very quick. Onwards.
Yeah, onwards indeed. And if you're willing to move on, I'm willing to move on to what I thought was... I knew that at least half of this match was going to be good. It's Asuka versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship.
Imagine how much better Asuka wrestles because she's not facing Sasha Banks.
Imagine if Asuka didn't have this crappy shrieking like a banshee gimmick.
I know, but we're not going to be able to get rid of stereotypes. We just went from a man from Nigeria with a supporter from Nigeria, even though he's not really Nigerian, to Japanese banshee woman.
Well, this...
Progressive WWE.
Well, this was, to me, you and I have both discussed how much Asuka has regressed, in our opinion, in the past year. We've discussed it. This was really...
Yes, many times.
This was the last chance, the way that I viewed it, for Asuka to have a good match in my eyes before I ended up doing... she ended up having go-away heat with me. Well, guess what happened, Sky?
She has go-away heat.
She's got go-away heat. Rhea Ripley is a goddamn star. She looks awesome. I'm so glad she won. Maybe they'll actually do something with the Raw Women's Championship now, although I doubt it. But they made her look great.
It's going to involve Charlotte Flair, let me tell you that right now.
That's right. They made her look great. But Asuka just does nothing for me. I don't think she tells a good story in the ring anymore. I don't see it in her the way that I did before, and I think that the gimmick is 95% of that.
Because when Asuka came in, she was colorful, but the thing about her is that she would kick your head in because she was so strong and so vicious. But now, her look has become her gimmick, and her work has taken a back seat to it. Not to mention the fact that she is older, the miles have clearly taken their toll on her body, and the hard-hitting style she has is going to force her to not have the physical ability to do some of the things that she used to be able to do.
Yeah, and there were some good points to this matchup. Like they did a knee bar to the German suplex, which was awesome. And then they slowed down, and the match got better. It just started way too fast. Ripley was a heel, which I didn't recognize at first, but she did it very well. The drop kick looked awesome. They did the DDP off the apron, which, again, apron spot. As devastating as it looked, apron spot, again. Then there was something of a comeback, and then it just lingered. And then Ripley hit a second rope suplex like Brian Cage used to do on Lucha Underground, and that looked terrific. They did the Riptide, Ripcord, Rip Van Winkle, and Rhea Ripley is the Raw Women's Champion. It took way too long to make this happen. It was Asuka, she doesn't do it for me anymore, and if I didn't see her anymore, I honestly would not be upset. I really don't have anything left in the tank for Asuka.
She's basically like a Pentagon Jr.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Asuka's booking for the last year has been bad, and I will give most of that. Like, she has been booked to be an afterthought in most of her feuds. But now, you can tell she's just mailing it in. She's kind of like Shinsuke Nakamura. She's taken the easier bumps. She's taken the paycheck. She's not putting in as much effort as she used to do, and she's coasting on her reputation. And that will only get you so far. And something I do want to note, this does feel like a changing of the guard with the women's divisions, considering the fact that Bianca Belair became champion. At NXT, Raquel Gonzalez became champion. And now Rhea Ripley is champion. And those three were all part of the Mae Young Classic group, along with Toni Storm and a couple of others. And it kind of feels like it's shifting the focus of the women's division away from the four horsewomen, because at this point, Bayley is a side character.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still important, but she was not involved in WrestleMania. No. Sasha Banks lost. Becky Lynch is pregnant, and Charlotte, while she's still important, was not on the show, and who knows how much longer she's going to be doing this. But it feels like there's a new crop with the women's division, or a new group that's coming up, and it feels like that group will be the next focus for WWE. And I don't know how to feel about that, but I think it's promising, because I do like a bunch of those women, including Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley.
Well, if only we can get some more consistency in with some of the women and female workers, because there's always been, especially in the past several years, been a difference between the top women and then everybody else. And
Right.
there needs to be more of a hammering out from that distinction between those two. Even if it was more like everyone was more middle of the road as opposed to a select few being really good and most being not really good at all. We need some sort of bridging the gap with the women's division, and hopefully this will help inspire that.
I just wish that it's good that we have a top group that exists for WWE, but I just wish that the women's division's bottom was improved, because the depth of the division is what really needs to improve in order to really make it feel like it's progressing. Because there's going to be top talent. That's not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem has never been the top talent of the women's division. It's been the bottom of the division. It's been the women that are the depth of it. I mean, the Riot Squad, that's your only major tag team besides Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. You have Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. God, we don't need to get into that again.
How many times do you think that they're going to make the women's champion team up with her opponent to face the tag team champions for the rest of 2021? How many times do you think they'll do that?
I can't guess because I don't know what they're going to do.
I'm going to guess 5. I'm going to guess at least 5 times they're going to do that.
I feel like it's going to be more than that.
It very well could. It very well could.
Okay. Anyways, match 6. Joshua notes. You smell that, it's refreshing. It's the smell of a WrestleMania women's title match that doesn't involve Charlotte Flair. Proceeds to see the fallout on Raw the next night. Fuck.
That's right.
That's right. Charlotte attacked Rhea Ripley on Raw, and apparently that's going to happen.
Barefoot.
Okay. The band singing Rhea's theme song sounding like someone ran over a cat with a lawnmower, and the footage of that was slowed down 50%. Jesus, I wish I was deaf.
It was,
unfortunately for Sean, it was not good music, let me say that right now.
It was a lot.
It was too much. Unfortunately for Sean's favorite female talent, Asuka, and Rhea have to be in the best spot of the pay-per-view. They deserve better. I will put the women's tag match here since no one gives a fuck about it. Dude, I really enjoy the chemistry between Asuka and Rhea. I can feel Sean's blood boiling as he reads that, Skyler. Quick, run and hide.
He's not wrong. He is not wrong.
They work well together. I love the DDT from the apron to the floor.
This is going to be the stuff that gets censored out right here, because this is the offensive part of this show. I find this offensive.
Not the hanging jokes.
Nothing about
not the suicide jokes.
Nothing about the dangles is bothers me quite like him liking this match.
So Satan came on Alexa's face earlier. What comes on Asuka's face before every match she has? Gross.
Wow.
Was not expecting Rhea to drop Asuka with one riptide, but I'm not surprised. Asuka isn't exactly the most protected or featured person on WWE television. Think about this. Lana was more promoted and featured than Asuka during Asuka's entire reign. Decent match, suffered from its placement, but I enjoyed it. Go Rhea Ripley. Sorry, Sean.
Hey, listen, I'm hell happy that Rhea Ripley won this match. The outcome was
I think you're saying
bothered.
sorry because you liked the match, and I know you didn't like it.
Yes, but I mean, I will admit, I am biased because I really, really do not like Asuka anymore. But we had one last shot, a desperate attempt to have anything feel like a halfway decent match. And if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be these 3 individuals. I'm not going to talk about Bayley getting screwed over by the Bellas. It's not worth me getting angry about. We're just going to move on to the main event. If you're cool with that, I'm cool with that.
Fair.
It is Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan versus Edge for the Universal Championship match.
Of the world and particularly of all time.
That's right. Notice that this belt is not made with Velcro. Something to think about. Maybe they finally realized that looks freaking stupid.
Or maybe Roman Reigns was like, no, I'm not wearing Velcro.
Yeah, that better be. That would be great. I would love if Roman Reigns was the one who said, nah, not today, not me.
I'm the head of the table, damn it.
Now,
I get good championship belts.
that's right. Now, remember, Sky, what you said when we were talking about Orton and Batista and Daniel Bryan, how the match was really good, but it was really overbooked?
Yes.
How do you feel about this match?
Overbooked.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Just a little
I can
bit.
appreciate, though, Edge wearing basically the same clothes that Randy Orton wore earlier in tonight, and they look like a tag team.
Yes, of course. And Edge always looks good in white. He always has. And all three of these guys, you knew that the work that they were going to put in was going to be good. And it was. This was very fun. This was easily, almost by default, the match of the night.
Because it was the only good match involving good workers. I'm sorry to the rest of the show, but no one had the heat or story to really match up to this match. And there were guys who tried, like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, but just...
Well, and I love how great that they made Daniel Bryan look. Even though the dynamic was definitely different than WrestleMania 30, Bryan was still holding his own in a very similar way.
Right.
And you know what's really cool about this? I thought about this halfway through the match. How cool is it that Edge broke his neck and came back to main event WrestleMania? Daniel Bryan beat a flurry of concussions and a whole series of injuries to make it to main event WrestleMania. And Roman Reigns beat cancer to come back in main event WrestleMania. This is a very cool main event. And all three of these guys deserve this spot. They do a collision with the spear, and that looked crazy.
What, the two of them doing the double spear?
Yeah. That one I thought looked pretty good. This was a really fun match. There was a lot of good bumps and spots they took, even though it was fast-paced, but that's a triple threat match.
Right. I mean, it was good, definitely. Something about this match felt off. I can't tell you what it is, though.
Yeah. Maybe the fact that this really should have just been a one-on-one match with two of these participants.
Right, like, maybe one-on-one probably would have been better, but even then, it just, like, something felt off. I think part of it is that I was expecting Roman Reigns to lose and for them to send the fans home happy. Something about this show I noticed, with Night 2 in particular, the heels won a lot.
They did.
Because maybe this would be better if Daniel Bryan or Edge had won, but with Roman Reigns winning, I'm not saying that Roman Reigns doesn't deserve it,
right?
But it also feels like he doesn't need the win. Daniel Bryan probably didn't need the win, but it would have been nice for him to get it. Edge specifically probably needed to win this match.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't know about that. And the reason I'm a little hesitant to say that is, like, probably in the context of who needed to benefit from this match, probably would have been better if Edge had won it. But I also imagine that the theory behind this is that Drew's going to come to SmackDown and challenge Roman Reigns. And Edge, who turned heel, is going to be resentful for Daniel Bryan screwing him over when he finally had the opportunity to come back, leading to Edge versus Daniel Bryan. That's my thought process to why they would do this.
I definitely see a couple of interesting possibilities. That Roman Reigns title reign continuing is good because it means he can face on other challengers. But Edge and Daniel Bryan, that's a feud that's going to make money.
Well, it'll be a terrific feud. Absolutely. They will do a really good part. And this was another time that Kevin Dunn, he was making me nauseated because of how much he cut this camera. Then they did the table bomb to the spear, which was absolutely devastating looking. And
it was brutal. Oh,
yeah, it was absolutely brutal looking. And this match ended up being really, really nice. Then they did the crossface and the yes lock, where Roman, I guess, tapped out just a wee bit, just a little teeny tiny bit, but it wasn't seen. And then Edge gets these big chair shots, and then Reigns wins with a concerto and stacks both of them up and covers both of them and pins them both.
Like a dominant man. He won. He said he was going to line them up and stack them up.
Here's the thing. I was really happy that Reigns won this match because this was probably the only time I really could accept and was like, okay, I'm cool with Roman Reigns winning this match. The spots were great in this. You know, if there's any one match to watch on night 2, and this is it. This is the one match to watch on night 2. Everything else, leave it alone. Don't even bother. Unless you like watching Logan Paul get stunned. But this match, this was actually the most fun of anything on the show. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome was... It felt kind of flat. Almost abrupt. Like it just happened. And that was even after 20 minutes.
The finish happened very quickly. Another thing, too, how do you feel about Jey Uso's continuous interference?
Well, that's what I mean about this being overbooked. Because it was a lot of... I don't like the idea of... It's a triple threat. It's no disqualification. And we're all supposed to just know and understand that and accept that, because it's annoying that anyone can just randomly interfere in a triple threat match when you can't do that in a one-on-one match. Why is it that there's just no disqualification in a triple threat match at all? It just...
Why is it that when you magically add a third person, you're allowed to use any weapon you want?
Yeah, it just... I feel like it's just kind of a lazy way. And if you want to do a triple threat match, I got no problem with a triple threat match, but at least make it so that there's some rules that make sense, and don't just have it be... If you're going to advertise it as a no... If it's going to be no DQ, advertise it as such. That's all. I don't mind the concerto and all that stuff, you know, because I understand why they do it, and I understand that this is WWE's established rules, but it just feels kind of lazy, I guess.
In a way, it does. Because it just provides them with outs, and I don't like that.
I personally
it overcomplicated a match that did not need to be overcomplicated.
Yeah, I personally thought the way they were going to do this was that Daniel Bryan was going to win this again with beating Roman Reigns, so that Edge didn't have to take the pin, and then Edge could challenge Daniel Bryan for the belt. That's where I thought they were going to go with that. Because you'd still get Edge and Daniel Bryan, and then if Roman Reigns is trying to climb back, but then all of a sudden Drew McIntyre shows up, then Reigns and McIntyre can have a pretty quality feud together.
Right, but I don't know. It's definitely shaping up for an interesting scene after WrestleMania and heading into Backlash. But here's the thing that we have to look at. Who challenges Roman Reigns next? There's a couple of interesting options that are available. You have Cesaro, who beat Seth Rollins. That could be a good challenge.
Could be good for Backlash, or what they do if they do Money in the Bank again.
Yep. I feel like they are eventually going to build Big E up to be a main eventer. So I wonder if Big E, not in the short term, but maybe long term, maybe SummerSlam time, he could challenge Roman Reigns.
It's possible. I wouldn't mind seeing that either. See if Big E can actually hold his own in a match of that caliber.
And of course, we have all talked about Big Daddy Drew.
Naturally.
Which is the match I want to see the most.
Myself included. That teaser that they had at Survivor Series was enough to whet my appetite for a full-blown feud.
Not to mention, we could make fun of them for the fact that they said, yeah, no, we had this long-term story plan from their first interaction at Survivor Series 2019 to winning the Royal Rumble in 2020 to the Survivor Series 2020 match.
Of course. They knew. They knew from the very beginning that this was what they were destined to do. And then, oh, God, this company. I swear. What did Joshua have to say?
He has a lot to say about this.
All right, let's hear it.
Finally, the match we've been waiting for, and boy, did it deliver. I enjoyed each and every second of this match. Roman, Daniel, and Edge fucking killed it. Shut the fuck up about Snickers, Cole. I had enough of that shit during night one. Can we please have a Snickers commercial where Cole is commentating poorly? Jerry says, you don't look good. You want to eat a Snickers? Cole eats it and transforms into JR, please.
Yeah, except it's modern day JR where he just shits on the product.
That JR would still be better than Michael Cole right now.
Yeah, that's true. And, I'm glad he mentioned that Snickers thing because they did that picture-in-picture and it nearly missed one of the higher spots they had. Good job, guys.
Edge looks like a fucking lunatic, and it's great. Also, his execution DDT has looked way more vicious ever since he returned.
Yep.
The sequence where Edge and Bryan both have crossface on Roman and start headbutting each other made me scream like fucking tidy whities. I want them to see my children to that spot.
Jeez. God damn.
Each and every spear in this match looks gruesome. Take notes, old Burke. And, sorry, I was momentarily possessed by Skylar.
He is, well, it's true, though.
It's true. It's damn true. Finally, we get some concertos up in this bitch. And Roman stacking Edge and Bryan on top of each other with a perfect finish. Holy shit, this main event was awesome. My personal favorite match of the entire weekend.
Wow.
Closing thoughts. Night one, way better than AEW Revolution. AEW Revolution, way better than night two. Night two started off horrendously, but slowly improved with each and every match, and the main event was worth all of it. Seriously, this is a one-match show. Matt Riddle and Sheamus was good too, but honestly, the main event is the next highest point. Night two grade, 5.5 out of 10. Hope you don't hate my notes too much this time, you supple sluts. Until next time, Josh again, out. Also, what is it? In very fine print, it says, yeets back into lair to aggressively tickle his cat.
All right. I'm going to let him just tickle his cat on his own time. Thank you for those eloquently worded notes. I really don't disagree with his main event analysis. I do like Reigns winning the way he did, because I'm just a fan of Reigns. But I still don't disagree with you, Skylar, either, that there is something that felt off about this. And I think it's just the fact that it was a triple threat where they didn't really regard the rules.
That and the fact that a lot of the heels won on night two, when you think a lot of the babyfaces traditionally win at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean, I know even in the other world title match, Bobby Lashley was the heel and he won too. So the go home feel good story was probably Bianca Belair, which is not bad, but you had two heel wins. I guess Rhea Ripley, too, but Rhea Ripley, we could see that one coming.
Right. Yeah, it's the positioning of these two nights was very odd, and it would have been something. If night two had happened on night one and night one had happened on night two, I think we would look back at WrestleMania 37 on the whole a lot more fondly. In this weird
way. It definitely felt like if they had put night one, if they put all the matches on night one except Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, because I know they wanted to go out first on night two, it would have been a better WrestleMania.
Yeah. It was a tale of two shows in the literal and figurative sense. So, Sky, what do you give this as a grade? I don't like doing grades, but we've done it, and we did it on the Totally Awesome podcast, so we're going to do it here.
By the way, I heard a rumor that next year they're looking to only do one night because they're not confident about full selling of the show.
That's really depressing. That's really depressing.
If they cut down on the number of matches, I'm fine with it, but I'm not here to do a 10-hour WrestleMania again.
Oh, God, that was so brutal.
So night two, definitely the weaker of the two nights, and while there was still good stuff enjoyable about it, the show was just a lot of filler. If you took out the ads, there actually was not that much wrestling. None of the matches besides the main event really got much time. This was a hard show to enjoy at points, and the opening two matches, especially Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, was awful.
Yeah.
I think overall, and I'm surprised Joshua gave it a 5.5. That seems really, really high praise. I can't say much good about this show because if Joshua liked the show that much and gave it a 5.5, how can I honestly give a higher score that's even better than that? I think I'm going to Bret Hart this bitch and say 4 out of 10. I just can't do a higher grade than that.
Yeah. And I will have to heartily disagree with Mr. Josh again, who said that AEW Revolution was better than this show. I would say that maybe on par, but I would say that this, for the main event alone, this show was better than AEW Revolution. The main event alone outdoes that entire show. But
is it me, or does it feel like the rest of the matches on this show, night 2, besides the main event, felt like AEW matches?
As far as they made no sense, yes. It was just, no, honestly, it's in one way yes, but in another way no, because it felt like Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt is so quintessentially what WWE is at this point. And this was definitely a WWE WrestleMania, where night 1 was a professional wrestling show, night 2 was a WWE WrestleMania. It had one good match, and Kevin Owens giving the stunner to Logan Paul. And as a result, this match gets a lone 3 out of 10 for me. This was bad. All of this was bad. I don't ever want to see Asuka again. I don't ever want to see Bray Wyatt again. I like Randy Orton too much to do that to him, but now we're getting to people where I'm skipping what they're doing. So, let this be a word to how WWE proceeds going forward. Do more of night 1 and do a whole lot less of night 2.
Their next show, WrestleMania Backlash. We only know so far one match, and it's going to be Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre again. But if they replay a bunch of these matches from this WrestleMania, I hope it's more of the night 1 matches, and maybe throw in a Daniel Bryan and Edge match.
Yeah, can we please not get Big E and Apollo again? Can we please?
Oh, God.
I mean, we know we're going to get something with Asuka and Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. We just don't know what. I doubt they're going to do Sheamus and Riddle again.
Another triple threat.
And I never want to see Orton and Wyatt in the same vicinity ever again. They just stop. They need to stop.
But will they?
Who knows? Well, we'll be here to suffer all along the way, but I think it's time we let our suffering come to a merciful end. It is now time, folks, to take our first commercial break. Sky, we did it. We made it through, but now we got to show them how it's done. Next week.
Yes, clearly these shows have proven that we are the better bookers, and to do that, we're going to do it with our own shows, with the exact same wrestlers, but in much better ways.
That's right. In much better ways and much more exciting contexts. I can't wait to hear what NWL's got going on in the month of April. It's going to be a good time. And until then, Sky, congratulations, we done made it past WrestleMania.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
It's time. I'm going to go get myself a drink of water and think about my life choices because of this 2-night show. And when we come back, we'll have ACPW versus NWL. We'll have a match of the week live stream and all of that coming right after these commercial breaks.